Finish him. Or her?
Welcome. Thanks for joining us for our Reddit Stories, Christmas edition. Happy holidays. And today we'll dive into the ProRevenge story and reactions to the post from Throwaway12679990 titled, Neighbor's Dogs Kill Coworker's Cat, Coworker Ruins Their Christmas. Hi, this is Derek. I just put the Drama Llama, Fred, back in his pen so that I can do this quick video for you with some of the stuff that Fred found on Reddit earlier today. If this is your first time watching our videos, help me out by watching to the end, and then giving me some feedback in the comment area below. And if you want more of these videos daily, don't forget to like and subscribe, with notifications turned on for this channel. Oh boy, let's get ready for some deep-seated revenge. Throwaway12679990 posted, Neighbor's dogs kill coworker's cat, coworker ruins their Christmas. Quick note, I was part of this story but not the dealer nor receiver of the revenge. Years ago, I used to work with a receptionist in a vet clinic named Margot. Margot was and still is a very sweet 65-year-old woman who had been at this practice since it was opened, some 40 years ago. She always had a smile, a joke, compliments and baked goods for your birthday. She never had an unkind word to say about anyone. She was seriously one of the coolest people I had ever worked with, and she basically knew everyone. From our regular clients to our mailman's granddaughter. The only bad thing about Margot, and this was not her fault, was that she and her family lived next to one of the trashiest, nastiest families I had ever met. That had two even nastier pit bulls. I'm talking nastier than poop that had been hoarded by dung beetles for years nasty. And these dogs were constantly escaping and terrorizing the neighborhood. Even trying to get into her house. Margot had asked them more than once to please keep the dogs contained. Especially since she had an elderly, fat cat named Smokestack, and these pits had attacked smaller animals before. The family basically told her to rot in hell, that they knew what they were doing. How dare she accuse the breed, yada yada, basically blowing her off. Margot knew there had been reports filed against her neighbors but nothing had ever been done about it really. So she made sure to keep Smokestack in the house to keep him safe and was very careful not to let him out. If you had been paying attention up until this point, you'll notice I'm using the word was and had regarding old Smokestack. And it was as awful as you think. 3 weeks before Christmas, Margot had the day off. And was in the garage with Smokestack fiddling with some Christmas decorations. Unbeknownst to her, the pits next door got out and broke through the bottom of her garage door. They went right for Smokestack before she could blink and started to tear the cat apart. Margot screamed for help, and it was only when her son and husband came out with a baseball bat that they were able to free Smokestack from the jaws of these dogs. I was working this day and will never forget when she came in, crying harder than I had ever seen anyone cry in my life, clutching poor dying Smokestack in her arms. Her husband had to hold her while we tried to bring Smokestack back, but we couldn't do it. It would have taken a miracle of God and then some, and he passed away. A truly crap way to go in what should have been the golden years of his fat cat life. Margot sat there for a while with his mangled body, quietly crying for a while before she finally kissed whatever part of him was still intact, and stood up. She told us all, "I've got a job to do, take care of him, girls." And then left. We figured Margot would take a few days off to be with family and then continue on with life as normal. We figured wrong. Now when I say Margot knew everyone, I mean everyone. Right after she left the hospital, Margot gathered herself up and went to the police with pictures of poor Smokestack and told her story. The same police officers she had watched grow up over the last 20 years, from rowdy middle schoolers she used to help babysit to the officers they were today. They were absolutely shocked to hear what had happened to their surrogate grandma, and pushed her case to the front of the line. The case found itself before a judge whose daughter had gone to school with Margot's daughter. The judge granted an emergency, dangerous animal extraction warrant to her neighbors. Of course there was a hearing. Within 2 weeks, which I gotta admit, was ridiculously fast. The neighbors tried to argue that their dogs weren't aggressive. They even went so far as to accuse Margot of having it out for their family and making it all up. But their argument trickled when the dozens of dangerous animal reports were presented, and finally completely dried out when Margot presented the surveillance video her grandson had gotten showing the dogs coming into her property and attacking poor Smokestack. The emergency extraction and humane destruction of her neighbor's dogs was granted. It was Christmas Eve when Margot heard a knock on her door. She opened it up to see the neighbors standing there, sobbing uncontrollably. They were begging her to stop animal control. That they had these dogs since they were puppies. How the kids would be devastated. And it would ruin Christmas, and if she could find it in her heart to give the dogs another chance. Up until this moment, the neighbors had behaved abominably. They didn't offer to fix the garage. They never apologized for trying to slander her name in court. Heck, they didn't even pay for Smokestack to be cremated. At no point had they even shown the slightest shred of remorse for what damage their dogs had done. And as the neighbors stood there, blubbering and whimpering about how this was going to ruin their Christmas, Margot looked them straight in the eye and told them, in her calmest voice, "You took away my family, so now I'm taking yours." And shut the door in their face just as animal control pulled up onto the driveway. Margot was not surprised as she watched the dogs get hauled into the truck and taken away. After all, it was her idea for animal control to take the dogs on Christmas Eve. A perk from having known the AC officer supervisor for years. Margot even made sure the dogs were euthanized before the outside Christmas lights turned on that night. The family never received the remains, nor did they ever get a chance to bring another animal into their family. As the father proceeded to drunk drive into a telephone pole that same night, killing him instantly. Mom went off the deep end, so CPS picked up the kids by February. And ultimately, the house foreclosed in September. Despite how traumatic Smokestack's death was. I'd like to think that if the neighbors had shown at least some regret, Margot might not have gone as far as she did. She is still the person to forgive and forget. Or maybe, she ultimately knew it had to be done. To push it to this point of no return before another family lost a member to these irresponsible neighbors. Either way, thank you Margot for making the world a little bit safer for the pets in the world. And rest in peace, Smokestack. Hopefully I'll see you on the other side with your favorite orange sock and a can of tuna. What are your thoughts on Throwaway 126799's revenge story? Please share in the comments below. Now let's go on to hear how some Reddit members reacted to this story. Spoof Code 17 reacted with, "This actually seems like nuclear revenge material right here. I was debating that, but nuclear revenge seems intentionally, well, nuclear. And I don't think Margot intended for the whole family to basically implode. Yeah, if an animal got killed within the law. So yes, nuke revenge. If she worked in a vet's office, she would know all kinds of animals. And be able to tell when dogs are beyond help. And the family was obviously not going to take responsibility for their dogs. She did the whole neighborhood a service by getting those dogs removed. The rest was beyond her control. It's called the snowball effect and everyone should learn it. She didn't intend to, but she did burn a family to ash though. That's what nuclear bombs tend to do, don't they?" PN Gwyn reacted with, "Good people will often be very tolerant and forgiving. But once you push them too far, you're F. Demons run, when good women go to war. Beware the wrath of a patient man. Or an old lady. They say that when a patient person breaks, the devil shivers. In this case I think he shat his pants. 3 things wise men fear, a night with no moon, the sea and a storm. And the wrath of a gentlewoman." Kikenom reacted with, "I'm not saying I don't believe this story. But the father drunk killing himself that same night. And Margot getting the dogs euthanized. All in the span of a few hours. Are vet offices even open on Christmas Eve? I find all that a bit of a stretch to believe. This reads like fiction." Op knows that the neighbors came up sobbing uncontrollably. And Margot says in her calmest voice with a verbatim quote, "Maybe it's inspired by true events, but this reads like something only Margot would be able to write. The word trickle did it for me. I think they meant crumbled. But the bot switched the words to something similar." Margot was not surprised as she watched the dogs get hauled into the truck and taken away. After all, it was her idea for animal control to take the dogs on Christmas Eve. A perk from having known the AC officer supervisor for years. This reads like a fiction novel. I find it a bit disturbing tbh how she knows all these people. And thus she manages to get the dogs taken away. That she knows those people shouldn't have any effect on the process. If that part is real, then it's pretty F up. Imagine being in that situation and the police doesn't anything because they're busy. And you aren't close enough to get any favors. Snickest reacted with, I love animals, but these ones sounded so dangerous. Small child might not stand a chance if the dogs got to it. I hope those people never own another pet. Ultimately, it's their responsibility to raise and train dogs right. And not doing so lead to such pain for all those involved. Well, one of them is certainly never owning a pet again. This was the toughest one to read, poor smokestack. Cats are amazing. This really hit me hard, this story. Yeah, true. Especially as she was keeping her cat in, doing everything she could to keep the cat safe. And witnessing this would have been so traumatic for her. This is a case of neglect. They didn't train the dogs right in the first place. And then after they knew they were dangerous, did nothing to keep them contained. And they can't claim they didn't know since they had all those dangerous animal reports. I would have gone further and sued them for the damage to my garage, the cremation of the cat, and whatever else I can get them on. And owners like this give pit bulls an even worse reputation than they already have. Aussie Bloke 777 reacted with, I'm a veterinarian who has had to euthanize dogs that have been inappropriately housed and cared for, left to roam or kept on insecure premises, and have subsequently attacked another animal or a human. Some of those dogs were perfectly friendly under the right circumstances. But the owners failed to heed the advice of myself and others in regards to specific triggers for their aggression. You can never trust them to be well behaved at all times, no matter what. How well any dog behaves is always 100% the responsibility of the owner. Even my overtly placid golden retriever is housed securely, handled appropriately at the dog park, and never trusted alone around unfamiliar animals. My Great Dane I know for sure would kill any cat she could get her jaws on. And as a result, she is secured in a full enclosed patio when I'm not at home. That she cannot escape, and cats cannot get into either. I've had the owners of these dogs crying, begging me not to go ahead. I always make it crystal clear to them that they're right, it's not the dog's fault. It's yours. You made this happen through your carelessness, and this is the painful price everyone pays as a result of it. The dog, the owners, and I, who can see this dog under the right care, would be fine. But because of the local laws, I have to destroy your dog once it actively attacks or kills outside of your property. It angers me immensely to have to do it. I know, I was attacked by 3 dogs and only one bit me. I wasn't even going to report it, but my doctor actually made me when he stitched me up. Because he said it could happen to a kid on our street, and that made me feel terrible. So I did. I went to the police station and then went to animal control, and they made these people surrender their dog. But they didn't surrender the one that bit me, they just surrendered one that they did not want. Which was actually not one of the ones that was aggressive. When animal control called me to identify the dog, I went up there. And as soon as I saw it, I said that's not the right one, and I just burst into tears. People are so effing heartless. I actually know the biatch who did this. And I can't wait to run into her in person one of these days and tell her exactly what I think. And finally, Fungus Taint reacted with, poopy neighbors like that are the exact reason I keep my cats indoors at all times. I do feel bad for those dogs though. Some animals just get the most rotten luck with humans. Well, there you have it. A perfectly great question answered by a bunch of fine and honorable citizens. Help support this channel by smashing the like and subscribe buttons. And hit that silly little bell as well to ensure you get the latest videos as they come out. Fred is always finding stuff for me to post regularly. So this is Derek signing off. Thanks for watching. Good grief, it sounds like Fred is out of his pen again. I think he found more drama for me to share with you. See you soon.